Hello, everybody. Vince Venturella here. Uh, Wanted to record a little video talking about bias. Now, not in the normal way we think about bias, but rather a very particular kind, specifically heuristic biases. And if that term is unfamiliar to you, don't worry. You know what it is, even if you don't know what it is. That's the great part about behavioral economics is it's stuff you know, you just don't know you know. And I want to talk about how some of those biases relate to Warhammer, and specifically the upcoming 9th edition of Warhammer. Now, right out of the gate, you've probably fallen asleep, but I hope this will be interesting to you. It's very interesting to me, and we'll see if I can convince you of the same. So I was thinking this week, as we had some new revelations about the upcoming skirmish game version of probably what is either 9th edition or 8.5 or something. Who knows? We've got some kind of skirmish game coming, is the pretty solid rumor at the time I'm recording this. And it's coming out pretty soon, pre-orders probably about 2 weeks from now. And what's funny is that as we've gotten closer to this thing, a lot of the earlier rumors that seemed really insane and now suddenly make sense when you realize that there's a skirmish game and it's separate from 9th maybe in some way, and this is why there were all these various things. Maybe the round bases are just skirmish related. That's what a lot of the recent rumors have said, and that the big game is still the big game you've always come to know and love. And there, the 6 faction thing. Maybe the 6 faction thing is purely related to the skirmish game and not even anything to do with 9th. I don't know. I don't have any inside access to that. But again, that's what's been circulating around. But I found all that interesting because, and here's why. Because of bias. And here's what I mean. I looked back through a lot of people's videos about 9th edition, and I think some of the first ones that came out were probably like Anthony with the Sustainable Center and such, way back when probably either Fayette or Bulls spoiled this very early piece that came off one of the forums of like 9th is this and 9th is that, and it was just this explosion of the world and everybody lost their minds. Because as it was written on paper, it seemed like the end of the world as we know it, and we almost certainly did not feel fine. So that leads us to our first bias, which is anchoring. But first, let's take a minute to talk about heuristic bias. So what is a heuristic bias? So human beings are little shortcut machines. And by that I mean this. Life is very complicated and big, and there's a lot of things that your brain would have to normally think deeply about. And if you really thought deeply about every decision you made, you would never do anything. Fortunately, we've evolved very clever brains that rely on heuristics, shortcuts. And for the most part, it serves us well. So the easy and classic example is some long time ago, we had 2 ancient ancestors, and 2 of them saw grass moving. And they were out on a plain somewhere, and they saw some grass moving a distance away from them. One of them thought, I wonder what that grass moving thinks. Let me sit here for a moment and contemplate the various things that could move that grass. It could be the wind, it could be something within it, it could be, and then a lion sprang out and ate him, and he did not propagate his genes. Whereas the other ancestor that we all share was the person who saw the grass move and thought, oh, lion, and ran away. And the lion did not catch him and eat him. Now, that is an oversimplified story. It is not meant to be a real situation that happened. It's simply meant to show that these shortcuts have allowed us to survive and excel as human beings. And in general, they do well at that. However, there is a long list of heuristic biases, cognitive biases, that come and bite us. And what's really funny is I'll include the link to the Wikipedia page that lists all of them. And if you read them, there's a lot more than what I am talking about here that I guarantee you come up in your last game of Warhammer. There's probably 5 or 6 that you experienced during your last game, because there's a ton of them that align so well with Warhammer, especially when beliefs from small sample sizes, streaks of luck, randomness, all this kind of stuff. But that's not what I want to talk about today. Instead, I'm going to talk about 3 very specific heuristic biases. So let's bring this back to 9th. So we heard all this initial information, and it was terrible. Or it seemed very dire, shall we say. And that's where anchoring comes in. So anchoring is the tendency to hold all future information up against the first piece of information and view it through the lens of the first piece of information. So if your first experience with something was positive, then your later experiences with that thing will be viewed more favorably. If the first movie in a trilogy is bad, even if the second two movies were to be in fact very good, it's hard to snap your brain out of that and actually enjoy those movies. Same in reverse. Not always the case, as The Matrix proved, but it's that sort of thing. Anchoring can also come in with prices. If we think something's worth a value, we're not going to pay more than that. You know, a movie ticket is X dollars. If I go to go see a movie and it's a $30 ticket, I'm going to turn around and walk out. My anchor price is probably somewhere in the $7 to $10 range, depending on the part of the country you live in. Okay? All right. So anchoring. Why am I talking about that? Because back at the beginning, we all heard this bad stuff. And I think that it put the whole community into a negative place. Even though those rumors had no more credibility than anything else, basically scrawled onto a wall. And how we see them now, they're much softer, better, different. We completely had the wrong vision into it, as has been the case with every single edition of change of Warhammer and most other games ever. But nonetheless, we continue to view it negatively. Perhaps. Or it's easy to feel negative about it. Because that initial impression was bad. If that initial impression had been really good, even with the uncertainty, I feel like we would be excited. And if you think I'm wrong, consider the last movie trailer you saw that you were really excited about. You probably don't know the plot of the movie. I don't know what's going on in Avengers 2, other than, like, there's a big bad robot with James Spader's voice who seems pretty awesome. And that's, you know, they fight and there's some punching. I got that from the trailer. But I don't care. I don't care that there's all sorts of uncertainties. I had a very positive experience with the first Avengers, and so, sight unseen, I trust the second, right? But because my anchoring with 9th edition, with edition changes, maybe even with Games Workshop is negative, then hence my perception of this is also negative, even though it could in fact be great, right? We don't give it the fair shake. And that leads me to my next piece, which is confirmation bias. So confirmation bias, other than being probably one of the biggest problems plaguing America today, is the tendency to seek out information that matches your own established belief set and ignore disconfirming evidence. And this is something human beings are very, very good at. So I believe X. If I see a piece of evidence Y that disconfirms X, I will ignore it. If I see a piece of evidence that supports X, that is held up as dictum. Okay? All right. So, obviously, as the rumors have advanced, or whatever, or the end times advanced, whatever you want to see as the lens to reading the tea leaves of the future of Warhammer, if you already had a negative perception of it because of anchoring, then you seek out the little pieces of data that reinforce your belief that things will be terrible, right? And those you hold up as truth. And the others, things that might conflate with that, are disregarded. And so it becomes very easy to stay negative about it, even in the face of things maybe being okay or even good. If you find that you don't have this happening, there are certainly other times in your life this sort of thing probably occurs. People tend to do this the most, by the way, with political beliefs, and I'm not going to talk about politics in this because I don't care. I'm here to talk about Warhammer. And, but I think it's easy to do, right? Because once you've told the narrative in your head that it's going to be bad, it's really hard to get out of that mode, and it's really easy to just believe it. And that leads me to the negativity bias, the last one. And this is the most damaging. And this is the thing that I always try to reinforce. I try in my videos to always be very positive. And there's a reason for that. That's because I don't really feel like I should waste time on negativity with a game. In the end, I love Warhammer. I have a lot of fun with it. It's provided me countless hours of entertainment, of painting and enjoyment, and building lists and playing the game. Like I really can't count the hours over my life that I have enjoyed this game. And it is just that. It's a game, right? So why would I let it ruin my day? And it's easy to do so because of the two things I just said. You started with a negative piece of information. We seek out and take in the information that confirms that negativity. And here's the worst thing. Negative information has a much greater impact psychologically than positive. So here's the simplest terms I can put this in. There's a couple of various pieces of research, and this is how it works. If I take $5 out of your pocket, that creates some amount of negativity, some negativity units in your mind, right? I have to give you 7 times as much money, $35, to pay off that negativity bias. In other words, giving you $5 isn't the equivalent of taking $5 away. We value what we have, and losing it more than we value the idea of gaining the same amount. Okay? That's the negativity bias. And so what we saw here is it's easy. First of all, we value what we have right now, Warhammer 8th Edition, the experiences we have, all of that very much, as I just said I do. And the idea that it could be somehow diminished or taken away or influenced in a negative fashion hurts. It cuts deep. The problem with it is that there's a lot of time in between when those rumors happen and when 9th is going to happen that we still don't know for sure. What happens in 3 weeks? When does 9th itself launch? Still don't know. Here I am, 3 months into this, and I still don't know an answer, and I probably won't for a little while. So I've got a choice. I can be positive about it and hope for the best, and basically I can try to use my biases in my favor. Stay away from the forums, the gas station bathroom of the internet, as I always say, and just stay away from negativity, like those negative posts in general. Because why not let yourself be positive and hopeful? I mean, what's the worst that happens? You find out that it didn't all work out, and it's not great. Okay, well, that's a shame, but you still got a game you love. Nobody came to your house and took the book. You still got a good community full of fun people, and you get to share that. You still have all the hours you had in the past of playing the game and enjoying it. So nothing really got taken away from you. The only thing that you stand to lose by being positive is a couple months of feeling like crap and negativity and sadness about your hobby. And I think that's my feeling on it. And maybe people think that's naive or something like that, but I think it's fun. It's fun to be excited about it. When I read about things, I look at them in a positive light. I'm interested. I'm excited. It's neat to see where we may be going. I think the potential rumor of Mordheim 2.0 is pretty awesome. I've always loved Mordheim. So my point is that even though, like, I'm not sure you can really choose to be negative or positive, but you can help yourself do that. And I think that once you know these biases are in place and that they can be influencing you, you can just as easily take steps to counter them. Check out that page, like I said, below. It's pretty cool. Heuristic biases are neat. I have a big love of behavioral economics, and those are a big part of that. I think you will see some that you'll definitely recognize from your Warhammer table. For instance, there's one like the hot hand fallacy or the streak bias, where you believe that if you happen to roll 3 6s in a row, that you somehow have no chance of rolling a 6 on the next roll. Of course, that's completely not true. You have the same 16% chance on one dice you did the previous 3 times. But it's funny how little these little things affect us and color our interpretation of the game, right? So yeah, hopefully you find that interesting. Stay positive. I think we're on the verge of a lot of really cool stuff happening, and I, for one, am going to go ahead and be excited about it, and I hope you are too. Thanks for watching. Leave your comments below, and have a great one. See you next time.